Thank you. Welcome everyone to our Pencil Student Town Hall. We're going to get started in just a moment. There are some instructions on the screen that will help you with a optimal viewing, so you could take a look at that. And as our participants come on in and our audience comes on in, we're going to ask you to do exactly what we do when we run our sessions for students, which is to enter your name and organization in the chat so we know who's in the room and we can do a little roll call there. So if you can access the chat function, we invite you to put your name and your organization in the chat so we and our students in particular know who's in the room and who we're talking with today. And we're going to get started in just a second. Again, welcome everybody. Thank you. I see some roll call coming through now. This is exactly how we would start a panel this summer with our students. So we certainly invite all of our attendees to put their name and company or organization in the chat so we know who's here. And we're going to get started in just a bit as we start to reach critical mass here. All right, welcome again to those who have just joined us. We'll ask any of our audience members to just put your name and company or organization in the chat so that we know who's in the room. That's exactly what our students would do when they come to one of our panels. So we want to model that so that we know who we're talking to. And we'll get started in just about 30 more seconds as more people are just signing on. All right, well, we're going to get started in the interest of time with our introduction. And I know most people are here and eager to hear from our students. So we will do just a brief introduction and then we'll start the conversation. And as more folks join, they'll be able to join us right at the most important part, which is the conversation with our 4 students today. So welcome everybody to Pencil Student Town Hall. I'm Jessica Bino. I'm our Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer at Pencil. And I want to introduce Greg Bethel, our President, who will start us off with a welcome.
Thank you, Jessica. Let me add my welcome to everybody to Pencil's first virtual Student Town Hall meeting at the end of our summer internship programs. In any other year, we would normally be celebrating with a culminating reception for students and their employer hosts. But obviously with everything going on this year, our summer and our student summers and all of our employer host summers have looked a bit different. Pencil was still privileged to work with over 350 students this summer in a variety of programs that you'll hear more about shortly. And importantly, from our team and from our students. I want to thank the Pencil team, Jessica, Katie, Marina, Tiana, all of our program managers who really went above and beyond this summer to make sure that our students were still having a quality experience despite the COVID process. As we know at Pencil, now more than ever, this work is critically important to New York City youth. Last school year was disrupted. The summer was not what they were expecting it to be. And the upcoming school year still has a great bit of uncertainty. And we look forward to doing everything we can to continue to bring together the business community with students to create opportunities to connect them to success. Pencil could not have provided these programs this summer without hundreds of volunteers that participated as mentors, as employers, as career panelists, and workshop leaders. Or without the support of the funders that provided the necessary resources for student salaries and stipends, as well as training and development. Bloomberg Philanthropies, the Carnegie Corporation, the Charles Hayden Foundation, JP Morgan Chase, the Yes Coalition, New Visions for Public Schools, the Maringoff Family Foundation, the Haberman family, the Petrina Foundation, the Altschul Foundation, and the many individual companies that supported intern salaries. We really couldn't have done it without you, and really just an indication of how we can come together as a city to support our students. But you didn't come here today to listen to me, so let me turn it back over to Jessica, who can introduce us to the students, who can share a bit more about the context for this summer.
Thanks so much, Greg. Appreciate that welcome, and I want to echo those thanks to everybody. For those of you that haven't joined one of our panels before, I just want to go over a couple of logistics. We do welcome questions and answers, especially towards the end, and open up a more dynamic conversation with our students. You can always ask a question in the chat, which I know many of you have found by entering your name. The chat function can be found by clicking on the bottom where it says chat, and a dashboard will pop up on your right or in the center of your screen to use that function. Or you can simply raise your hand and you can access that by clicking the participants icon on the bottom and then the little hand raise function that'll pop up. So those are just some logistics. You are muted. We have the power to unmute you as hosts. So the Pencil staff is able to keep an eye out to see if anybody wants to ask a question, and we certainly welcome that interaction as we move through the program this afternoon. A little bit about Pencil. Greg gave a good overview of what we achieve and how many students we work with. At the end of the day, we're really running programs that give students access to relationships, skills, and opportunities that we really think can connect them to success. Last year, we worked with over 7,000 students and over 1,200 volunteers. And this year, in the face of COVID, while that looked very different, we were still able to work with thousands of students and hundreds of volunteers. And we look forward to sharing a little bit more about that with you today. We have an incredibly esteemed group of panelists that we're going to hear from, and they will introduce themselves personally shortly. Each of these panelists represent one of the 4 programs that we ran this summer, and we're going to hear a little bit more about that today. But we have Aiko joining us as one of our career explorers, Iziah joining us from our New Visions Career Exploration Program, Kassandra, who is a DYCD Summer Bridge student, and Zharia, who is a remote intern, actually had a internship, but a work from home internship this summer. So before we meet our students, I wanted to give just a little bit of context for summer employment for students and where we were in the spring to where we got to today. I think everybody knows and has been following the news since all of this happened. Schools began remote instruction in May. In April, Summer Youth Employment Program was canceled by the city, and young people and community organizations immediately started organizing to reinstate that program, either at the city level or individually in their own organizations to figure things out. At the same time, a lot of companies were canceling their internship programs and taking back positions just because they didn't know if they could do remote. They didn't know what the summer was going to look like. The economy was taking a very quick downward turn, and so many of those programs were on suspension. So there was rapid program design across the city by organizations like Pencil and our peers to figure out what we could do, because we were all determined to really provide high quality summer youth employment and paid work-based learning experiences for our summer. In July, the city did reinstate a version of summer youth employment called the Summer Bridge Program, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And throughout July and August, summer internships and work-based learning programs did happen, and I'm really proud to say that Pencil was able to serve about 350 students across 4 programs this summer. And if you would have asked us in the spring when things were looking its bleakest, I think I would have said that we would have been thrilled if we could support maybe 50 or 75 students. So to reach 350 across our 4 programs, I'm really amazed at what the team has been able to do, and we did it with an astounding group of committed partners and volunteers. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the 4 programs were our remote internships, our career explorers, a New Visions career exploration program with New Visions charter schools, and the SYEP Summer Bridge. So you'll hear those words and you'll hear about those programs as we move through the programs, but just wanted to introduce that more formally on a slide for everybody to kind of digest and see. All right. So we're going to take down the PowerPoint now and move into the meat of the program. And what we're going to do to start our introductions is actually have a member of the Pencil staff who really had a lot to do with each of the programs introduce the program and the student that's associated with the program. So we're going to start kind of in order of a trajectory. We knew we were determined to do remote internships. We already had some employers teed up. So I'm going to ask Tiana to give us an overview of internships and by way of that, introduce Zharia. Tiana?
Hello, everyone. So I'm Tiana Douglas. I'm the program associate for Pencil. So a lot of my work is mainly in the internship program. So overall, virtual or not, Pencil's internship program provides students with career readiness training, connections to mentors, and an opportunity to secure a paid internship. So traditionally, last year we trained thousands of students, and last year I believe placed about 600. But a big portion of my work includes matching these students by reviewing resumes, whether the criteria is interests and skills, and send them out to different employers, which is how I met Zharia and was at her agenda. And I am happy to say that Pencil was able to place 85 remote interns this year.
Thanks, Tiana. Zharia, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Zara George, and I am a recent graduate of SUNY Albany, where I study business administration with a concentration in marketing. This summer I participated in the Pencil's internship program as an intern for Her Agenda, a digital media platform for women, ambitious women dedicated to breaking the gender gap and gender inequality. And as a career goal, I aspire to be a digital marketing professional in media.
Great, thanks so much, and we'll hear more about you in just a second. Our second program that we'll introduce is our Career Explorers program, which is in the timeline of this summer, the second program that Pencil was able to officially launch. And I'll turn over to Maya to introduce that program.
Thanks, Jessica. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Really excited to introduce the Pencil Career Explorers program. This was a brand new program kind of born out of, what we were faced with in the spring. And so this program was designed to recruit 46 highly talented and motivated high school and college students to complete a project-based internship with one mentor. So it was a one-on-one mentor setup. And then Pencil supplemented their experience with weekly college and career readiness workshops, where some of our corporate partners leaned in and helped lead those conversations. So it was a really exciting time, 5 weeks where the students completed projects that ranged from industries in tech to real estate development, to community planning, design and architecture. And I'm really excited to introduce Aiko, who was one of the students in my cohort. We had about 6 cohorts operating for the 46 students and mentors. I'm really excited to introduce Aiko, who worked with Ryan Mono, who was the Director of Legislative Affairs from the Real Estate Board of New York. And she completed a really exciting project that I'm sure she'll be speaking about more later. So Aiko, I'm gonna pass it over to you so that you can share your thoughts.
Go ahead, Aiko.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aiko Gerra. I just graduated from the high school for math, science, and engineering at City College. And this fall, I'll be going to Columbia Engineering, probably to major in electrical engineering with a minor in computer science, but I'm still undecided. And this summer, as a Career Explorers intern focused on urban real estate development, I worked with my mentor, Ryan Manel, to design a real estate development that would serve the neighborhood of downtown Flushing.
Great, thanks so much. Now, the next program that got developed in this rapid innovation phase was in partnership with our friends at New Visions. When they got wind of our Career Explorers model and things that we were doing, asked if there were ways that we could adapt it for some of their charter schools, and we were able to partner with them, which we were really excited. And Hannah, I'll ask you to give a little more of an overview of that program.
Yeah, absolutely. So the New Visions Career Exploration Program was a 4-week program designed to virtually engage students in activities and experiences to explore diverse career paths and connect with business professionals and complete key college and career readiness milestones. About 84 students attended workshops and career panels facilitated by Pencil staff as well as our Pencil volunteers on topics like resume building, financial literacy, and interviewing. And Iziah really stood out for me. I worked particularly with his school, which is the New Visions Charter School, High School for the Humanities 4. He stood out to me because he produced quality work and always turned it in on time and conducted himself in a very professional manner, not only in the meetings, but also via email. And in particular, he reached out to our volunteers at JP Morgan after a kind of mock interviewing session and really took it upon himself to thank them and connect with them. So going above and beyond what we taught him and really taking advantage of that. So he really was a stellar student in our program. So Iziah, I'll turn over to you.
Hey everyone, thanks for what you said. I was part of the summer exploration program, and it was a really good experience because we explored different career paths in college. And
Great, and we're going to hear a little bit more about what Iziah did through the discussion. The last program, which got off the ground in early July, was the Summer Bridge program through SYEP, and I'm going to ask Marina to give a little bit of background on that program.
Yes, welcome. I'm the senior manager of the internship program, and the DYCD Summer Bridge program was the program born from the cancellation of the original DYCD summer programming. 126 students participated with Pencil in a career and workplace exploration series, and they also completed Pencil's college and career readiness programming and participated on many career panels. And in addition, all students completed a workplace challenge with a small group of their cohort students. So I will turn it over to Kassandra now, who is a senior at CUNY Hunter College, to speak more about her experiences with Summer Bridge and her workplace challenge project.
Hi everyone, my name is Kassandra Hernandez, and like Marina said, I was a student working in the SYEP Summer Bridge program, and I will echo it. We did so many career panels. It just blew my mind. I've never sat through so many career panels in my college experience, high school experience, so this was such a treat for me. I am a senior, and throughout this program, I actually got to know many employers on LinkedIn, and I got to really work on my skills in the career aspect. I developed a more impromptu resume and learned all these skills that I can really take with me. And I am planning to, because I would like to be in the education field, hopefully as a teacher one day.
Great, thanks so much, Kassandra. And let's actually stay with you for a second. And if you can give us a little bit more insight into what specific project or activities you did. I know lots of career panels and lots of workshops, but particularly the activities that were around practicing real work experiences.
Sure. So we did a lot of written assignments in terms of project planning, budgeting, interview prep, elevator pitches that we were told would help us actually when we went to find a career, when we went to find a job. These were skills we needed, things we needed, so we could, present a more concrete brand of who we were. So I know for me, I had a resume, I've been using it forever, and I thought it was, pretty standard. And we actually did a few resumes in my SYEP group, and I actually figured out that there was a lot of room of improvement. And I never really thought of that as a big deal. And then we also had to do this online program called Hats and Ladders, where we spent hours of the program dealing with resumes, learning about every aspect of a resume, even the parts that we don't understand. So the parts of how the employer gets the resume, how the system goes through millions of resumes and only shoots out maybe 100 for the employer to go through. I never really thought of that. I just thought, I send the resume. If I get a response, I get a response. So skills like that and things I never would have thought of were really just thrown out into the forefront. And I just realized that finding a job and actually going at it is way more complicated. And now I think I'm better equipped when I go on.
Great, thanks, Kassandra. Iziah, what about you? Can you tell us a little bit about the specific activities that you got to do through this program, the specific workshops or panels that you got to participate in?
During my experience, we learned about different career paths in college, and we build our resumes up, and I'm not good, sorry.
You're great. You're doing great. Those are exactly things that you worked on. You're doing great. Can we hear a little bit from Aiko about the kinds of projects that you worked on? And it sounds like you did a very intense real estate project.
Sure. In the beginning, my mentor and I sort of outlined what we wanted to do during the 5 weeks. So we decided to split the real estate development process into 5 parts, since there were 5 weeks. And so that I could, in each section, learn about what a real estate developer would have to do before, during, and after a project. And so the first week was kind of like a research phase. I mean, they were all research phases, but the first week was about establishing what the neighborhood needed. And so at the end of that week, I decided that Flushing needed more community space and more affordable housing. And so the next 4 weeks were dedicated to looking into how that could be done. And on a practical level, each week my mentor set me up with people working in related fields. So I interviewed them and I called them to learn more and that I could put into my deliverable. And at the end of each week, I would hand in a deliverable that went over what I learned that week and what what decisions I thought would be best for the imagined project. And Pencil also set up like career readiness panels and trainings each week. So that was also a good experience. And at the very end, I presented like the full concept for the building and the floor plans and the 3D drawing I had made as the final deliverable.
Mm-hmm. Great, excellent. Thanks for that overview. And for our folks listening, the Career Explorers really did a mock project, so they weren't beholden to a specific company, but it was very much mirroring what a real project would look like in that industry and company. Zharia, I want to hear from you. You had a job description, you were at a company, you were just remote for the whole time. So tell us a little bit about the projects you worked on and what it was like to have your first 100% remote job.
Sure. So with her agenda, I got to work with different teams and different aspects of the company. One of the main projects I had was to copy edit 6 Power Agendas, which is her agenda's main editorial feature that focuses on leading women in the industry. And I also got to create graphics and captions for social media platforms such as Instagram to boost, consumer engagement and overall just like buzz around the article or whatever editorial pieces we were posting. I also got to work with Dominique, my supervisor, to update the Power Agenda and Power Hour databases, which helps to like boost boost efficiency and boost the team workflow when it comes to like managing the Her Agenda insider community and just their general consumer community.
And how was the 100% remote experience for you?
Honestly, it exceeded my expectations because it's a little scary because you're just like, how am I going to do this? I'm basically behind the computer by myself. But it was really good for me because I got to communicate a lot with everyone on the team, and they made it very easy to communicate with them. If I had any questions, they were always open to chat, whether it was on Slack, through email, or like hop on a quick Google Meet call. And it made it really comforting because I didn't feel like I was alone, and I felt like if I had any questions, they would be answered.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks. And Kassandra, I'm going to go back to you to talk a little bit about this 100% remote experience. How did it exceed your expectations? Was it totally different? What did you learn from that environment?
I think the idea of being 100% remote didn't quite hit me until we started the program. I had done a summer class at the very beginning of the summer, so I had an idea of how it would work. I had these meetings every day with my teacher, but it was again in an environment I already knew. I already knew the teacher. We just kind of picked up where we left off. So to start a completely new program online kind of terrified me because I feel like it wasn't going to accurately show who I was or my work ethic because I am very hands-on. So it's really hard to be hands-on when you're at home behind a computer and you don't really know what to expect because it's never been done. So I think it definitely exceeded my expectations. I don't know whether it's in a good way or a bad way, but I do want to say that it definitely taught me a lot more about myself than I realized. And it made me it made me prepared to, you're going to face things in the workplace that you're not prepared for. You're going to be thrown curveballs and you're going to have to deal with them. And being remote just taught me that in like the fullest, most personal way you can experience it. And I mean, I think I grew to like it to some degree, actually.
Great, excellent. Well, I'm glad that you did grow to like it a bit. Iziah and Hannah, I'm going to actually ask you together on the next question because this was the first time that we worked with a New Vision school, and we got to know you right away in this experience. Hannah and Iziah, can you talk a little bit about working remotely and building the relationship together in your cohort with the New Vision's work together? Hannah, Iziah?
I was muted, so I was like clicking. Sorry, sharing, talking. Sorry, can you go say the question again? I was just frantically clicking to unmute myself.
I did.
And,
I did
and
that
now you're
myself
muted.
Yes, I got it now. All right. Really about the idea of building a relationship remotely, and Iziah and you just met for the first time in this program. So wondering if the two of you can talk about what it was like to work remotely together this summer.
I think it was difficult because I worked with at least the Hume 4 cohort, which was like 30 students. And all I knew about Iziah was that he turned in his work on time. The emails he sent me were very professionally written. And the first time that really, he really showcased who he was after his experience with JP Morgan. So maybe Iziah, if you can share what your experience was like in the mock interviews and what you did and why you decided to send that email and reach out afterwards.
I wanted to send the emails because they gave me really good advice, so I wanted to say thank you. And for the experience remotely, it was really easy because it was just receiving assignments and talking professionally with other people and Zoom calls. So I would say overall it was a really good experience.
Great. Thanks, Iziah. That was great. And in taking that initiative and following up is exactly what we hoped students like you would do. So that's excellent. Excellent example of how you were able to take advantage of the remote environment. Aiko, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about not just the remote aspect, but how much was this similar or different from being in school? I know that all of you as students have been on these platforms all spring and all summer. Was this different? Was it better, more interesting? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So being 100% remote, I think it was actually in some ways a good experience because it meant that I had more practice managing a bigger chunk of my own time. And I think that's good to have, especially right before you go to college. And I was still able to network with people through the panels and the networking sessions that Pencil set up. So I was actually able to meet some people and talk to them after those sessions. And as for how similar or different it is from school, I'd say that it was definitely very different. I think I was expected to be more responsible and independent than I was at school, and the work was just more engaging because I was expected to be more independent, and it involved me making more of my own choices and looking into things on my own. So yeah, I say that it was a lot more engaging than the time at school I did right when school was closed.
Thanks, Aiko. Kassandra, same question to reflect on whether or not this was similar to school and how it differed and what was better, what was more challenging, anything like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with Aiko in terms of the engaging aspect. When you're in school, you kind of get used to what's thrown at you, the information, and even in college where you think like you choose your own schedule, so you should be able to choose your courses and they're all going to be engaging. That does not always happen. Sometimes you have to take a class you really don't want to, and it's not engaging, it doesn't keep your interest, and it's hard to swallow that pill, but you have to do it anyway. So I feel like the remote summer program was interesting because I went in kind of pessimistic. I was like, it's not gonna be engaging if it's not in person, because I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to get that work environment vibe. So I remember starting summer, I went in and I was like, how engaging is this really gonna be for me? I don't want to be at home by myself behind a computer. That takes away all the personality. I was proven wrong because it was really warm and comforting. And I remember in all those panels, I would see these individuals and they would, instead of being some scary future employer, they were just human beings going through the same thing as me. So it provided me a weird sense of family, weird sense of belonging. I felt like it was kind of weird how comfortable I was. And I think in terms of school, I mean, it's pretty similar. Like I said before, I was in a summer class directly before this. So the similarities were there's a schedule, we follow the schedule. It brings back some stability, which I did love. I just think it's different because you got taught something new every single day. It was never the same thing. You learned personal life stories from all these great and fascinating volunteers. And it was kind of hard not to be engaged. So like, I remember asking so many questions. It kind of felt embarrassed sometimes in the beginning because, you know, you want to know so much more and you only have like an hour in these panels. So in terms of also following up like Iziah did, I think it's just a natural thing. Once you feel so engaged that you want to just follow up and form these networks with these people, you just can't help yourself.
Those are really great examples, Kassandra. Zharia, I'm going to ask you to also reflect on what an internship experience was like, different from a school experience you might have. And Zharia, I also know that you've had other internships, but in person. So how did this summer internship compare both to school and to your past internship experiences?
Sure. So in comparison to school, I think it was different because with school, you just do your assignments and you just turn it in, and then that's pretty much it. And with an internship that's completely remote, you can do your assignments, do your projects, but you have to communicate with your team, with your advisor, with your supervisor to let them know that, hey, this is done, what's the next steps? Or this is done, is there anything else I can do? Or what is your feedback? So I think that was really important. In comparison to an actual in-person internship, in person, you're working in an office, you get to see more of the team, and you get, I would say you get more monitoring. So you have someone that's working next to you or over you consistently. With remote, you have to be able to hold yourself accountable to your schedule and make sure everything meets the deadlines that you set or your advisor sets for you. So I think it was good time management, and I think that it also provided me with something to look forward to every single day because I knew there was a task waiting for me to complete, waiting for me to improve, or waiting for me to like add on to.
That's a really good reflection about having to keep yourself accountable in this remote space. I think even you know, adults who have been in their fields for years are figuring that out in new spaces. We're going to switch gears a little bit to think about favorite parts and key takeaways next. And I do encourage any of our audience members, if you do have any questions for our students, you can feel free to put them in the chat and we can start incorporating them. So the next question is about the best part of the summer experience. And Iziah, I want to ask you if you have a best part, your favorite part of the summer experience. And Hannah, if you wanted to fill out any more details after Iziah gives that, you guys can again kind of tag team together if you want.
My favorite part was hearing about the panelist experiences in college because it goes to show you have to go through trial and error to get where you want to be in life. So yeah, that's it.
That's a great answer. And I know I moderated some of those panels and you asked a lot of great questions of our panelists as well. So having that direct connection was really great, and you took advantage of it. That's excellent. Good. I don't know, Hannah, I think Iziah got that one, so I think we're good there. So other reflections for favorite parts. Let's hear from Aiko on your favorite part of the summer.
I think my favorite part of my project was the third week, because that was like the design and construction week of the project. And so I think the reason I was assigned to this mentor and this topic was because I'd expressed interest in architecture, and I'd taken architecture classes before in high school. And so this part of it allowed me to do that, but to combine it with the research I'd done in previous weeks about like how construction works out in real life and how zoning laws affect and constrain or inform like an architect's decisions. So that was really interesting because it was an intersection of what I'd already known and what I learned through this program. And I also really enjoyed meeting some people through the networking sessions because one of the people I met there actually turned out to be from my high school, and he connected me with someone else who went to my same high school and then had gone to my same college. And so I was able to have a really great conversation with that person.
Great. Those are all great examples of why they would be favorite parts of the summer. Kassandra, can you tell us what your favorite part of the program was for you?
Sure. Aside from the panels, which I think Iziah covered in a great succinct sentence, it may sound strange, but I would have to say the assignments that we got at the end of each week, that were due at the end of each week, were pretty fun for me. We had gotten all these different types of assignments in terms of project management, budgeting, and it wasn't a stereotypical assignment. We were given scenarios and we had to actually become the people in the prompts and think like they would and really dissect the information we were given and put it in a way that made sense to us. And I didn't realize how much fun that was. I remember one assignment in particular in the first week was project planning, and the prompt was that you had to pick a fundraising idea and run with it. You had to figure out all the components to it. You had to find out the budget. You had to find out the materials you needed. You needed to come up with a time frame of when everything was due. And I was so engrossed with it. Like, I started at 9 a.m. and I was finished by midnight. And I remember saying to my family afterwards, I was like, I really kind of want to have the bake sale right now, just using that assignment as a template. And my mom was like, go for it. Like, why not? You already have the project plan right there. So it just taught me like about these skills that I didn't know I had, but they were always there. And I think that's what made it so enjoyable for me. Like, I didn't know that making a budget was fun, but it was fun for me. So I think that would have to be my favorite part.
That's a great lesson. And I know you told us in your prep call that you went off and made budgets for yourself and your family, and you really were able to run with it in more than one way. So that's great to hear. And Zharia, what about you? The favorite part, whether it was an assignment or a conversation with somebody at her agenda, what was the favorite part of the summer for you?
My favorite part of the summer actually would be just working with her agenda in total, because I got to work on so many different projects, including like a final project where I presented with another intern a presentation based on feedback that we had about their current campaign and crowdfunding. We're able to contribute so much to the company, and we got to experience different aspects. Even though I was a marketing and social media intern, I got to do editorial work, and I also got to do graphic design. It was really cool. So I got to have a hand in everything.
Great, excellent. And I do again want to encourage any of our audience members, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and we can start asking the students. The next question I'm going to ask our students to answer is going to be around a lesson that you're going to take with you into the future. What is something that you learned this summer that's going to stick with you into your career and well beyond? And I'm going to start with Aiko and ask her to answer that first.
I think one thing that I learned through this program was that for me, anything can be interesting, because I was doing sort of, I guess, things most people probably wouldn't think of as being super interesting, like reading the New York City zoning law handbook, but it actually was interesting. And that was something that I had thought previously, but this really reinforced it and kind of proved that to me. And that also means that I don't have to feel like I'm tied down to one major yet as I go into college, especially as a freshman.
Great. Iziah, what about you? What's the lesson or thing that you learned this summer that you think will stick with you forever?
To continue to take opportunities, just like this program, and to bring positive energy wherever I go.
Both excellent lessons to learn early in life. Excellent. And Zharia, what about you? What is a lesson that you learned this summer?
A lesson I learned this summer would definitely be communication. At the end of my internship, I got feedback from the CEO of the company, Ranisha, and she was able to explain to me like how to improve my communication, especially like through remote situations, because it is important to communicate for the efficiency of the company. So just like learning how to communicate more efficiently, or how to like make sure I include everything in like one email, make sure it's concise and understandable, so it's like easier to communicate back and forth.
Excellent. I mean, communication in this virtual environment, very important for all of us to be learning. Kassandra, what is your big lesson from the summer that'll stick with you?
I think it would have to be just not to be afraid, to take the opportunities that are handed to you, and to not like tie yourself down to one ideal thing. I know that I'm a college senior, so I was particularly interested in hearing about college backstories because, especially in my environment, I'm always told that your career is linear. Like you have to have a plan. The minute you graduate college, you gotta have a plan. You have to go out running. So that kind of takes away the fun. It doesn't let me think about any outside possibilities. But hearing from all the panelists, one universal lesson that they've learned as adults with a solid career was always, don't be afraid to do things that seem scary to you, to chase those things that may seem kind of far out of the box. A lot of them have found ways to incorporate their dream job with their current job, and that's because they at some point were at a crossroads and they went with more scary but more fun opportunity. So I think that that would be a very important lesson for me as I am reaching the end line of my college career, like just stepping out of my comfort zone every once in a while and remembering like it's not going to be a linear path. Where I am now is not where I'm going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Great lessons learned all around. So I'm going to ask the audience again if there are any questions. This is always the tough part. I mean, we usually see a lot of questions from our students in the chat. So I might put our adults on the spot here and see if there are any questions that anybody wants to ask. Otherwise, we'll end up asking for final reflections from our students. I'll also invite the Pencil team that's on. There are a couple of Pencil staff members joining us. Particularly if you didn't get to interact with all of the students on the panel, you are welcome to ask questions as well. I'm gonna give it a minute. I see Greg unmuting himself, so maybe Greg has a question.
Yeah, obviously this summer wasn't what our students expected, and there's still some uncertainty about the fall. So I know we have some students that are still in high school, some in college, and some heading out into the world. But what are you anticipating for the fall, and how can organizations like Pencil and our volunteers be helpful to you as you continue your journey?
Hi, Greg. I think for me, I'm just excited to look for new opportunities that maybe might be remote. I'm going into one of my last semesters as a college student, and I know that this remoteness happened quite suddenly for me. Prior to this, I was actually a counselor at a preschool, so I kind of got booted out of a job that I actually really loved, and I was not a happy camper. I was pretty upset because those were my students. I had a connection with them. So trying to figure out a way to find an opportunity like that, especially now that I'm having more time because I'm not having as many courses because I'm in the final stretch. So I think that's what my focus will be on coming this fall, Hopefully, some type of education, job, internship thing appears, and I can go after it because I do really miss working with students.
That's great.
Hi.
Zharia, go ahead.
So what I look forward to in the fall, I'm actually going to be doing my master's in digital marketing. So this has prepared me to like take on a more specific area of study to, you know, accelerate my career, and also hopefully having a position that may be 100% remote. This internship has prepared me to work in that type of setting and how to like excel in that type of setting when it comes to working with a team or working with a company. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Great, thanks. And I know Iziah wants to jump in here. Go ahead.
In the fall, as a student, you're going to need motivation because it's very easy to just give up and say, what's the point of this? Why am I here? So motivation is definitely very important.
Thanks, Iziah. And Aiko, do you want to jump in on that question?
I know that like my first semester of college is going to be very different from what most other people's time at college were, but I'm not I'm just hoping to make the best of it, and I feel prepared to do that. I don't think it's going to affect me that much academically. I think I just have to be, as Iziah said, I just have to be sure to keep myself motivated and organized.
Great, all good answers. Yes, motivation is key, and finding things that are interesting and exciting and taking advantage of remote opportunity is all important. And hopefully we can be providing those to students like you and to yourselves. Are there any other questions from the audience or any of the Pencil team members that haven't had a chance to interact with our students more regularly? Just looking around. There's a good suggestion in the chat about finding the Student Support Center to help you at your college or university. Very good. All right, well, we're coming up on the last 5 minutes. So I did want to just ask our panelists a similar question that we ask our panelists at the career panels. So you all have heard this question, I know, but it's going to be slightly differently. Normally we ask our career panelists what advice they would give to their younger selves, like when they were 16, 17, 18. I'd like to ask each of you to think about what advice would you give to yourself if it was the beginning of the summer, before you did all this, knowing what you know now. So what would you tell yourself to better prepare for your summer experience? And let's start with Kassandra. Looks like you were nodding right away.
Definitely. I think I would tell my pre-summer self to be more proactive in finding summer remote programs. I jumped on the bandwagon at the end of July, right before summer started. So I was, it was a blessing that I got on, and it was a blessing I got accepted into the program. But it just makes me wonder what opportunities were there that I missed because I wasn't actually searching. So I think it's just being more proactive about different opportunities. You got to look for them. They're not going to just show up at your doorstep.
Okay, yes, proactivity, very important. Zharia, what about you? What advice would you give yourself if this was April or May?
I would say just to have confidence in yourself and to have patience, because as an intern, you can also feel like, oh, I'm just a small guy in this company, but no, you have something to contribute to the company, and you're here to like contribute your ideas and contribute to your skills and learn more things. So I think that you just have to have confidence in like why you're here and what you're about and what are your goals. And then when you go to work for a company, you'll have a better idea of who you are and what you're here to do, which will build your confidence.
Good advice to self and to everybody. Iziah, what about you? What advice would you give yourself?
To always look for progress, because just look for progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking for that progress, taking each win as it comes, making sure you congratulate yourself on that. Those are all really important things to keep track of. So great advice. And Aiko, we will finish with you. What advice would you give yourself?
I agree with Kassandra and Zharia. I think I did apply for multiple things near the beginning of the summer and near the end of the school year, but I think I could have tried harder. And I think if I had known that so many things would have been canceled later on, I probably would have. So that could have helped. And I also at some point, I think relatively early on in the summer, I started sort of scheduling my days to kind of mimic how school would go. So I would try to break up my day into blocks of time and do certain hobbies during those blocks. And I think it could have been good for me too if I had done that a little earlier than I did.
Great. That planning, that be able to adjust, all good pieces of advice. Well, we are just about 2 minutes until our 5:30 mark, and I think I know all of our audience members would share this if they weren't muted by all of us. But panelists, you did a fantastic job today. Really great reflections, really great observations on your experiences. Good pieces of information for the Pencil team and our partners as we think about the year to come and what we could be doing better to support students like you. You put in a lot of work this summer. You should each be tremendously proud of what you did, and our Pencil staff too. I hope you're tremendously proud of seeing the students talk about the experiences that you all facilitated. So thank you all so much. Thank you to those of you that tuned in today. This will be available as a recording, and we'll have some LinkedIn or Instagram posts about it. So if you want to continue the conversation there, we always welcome that on Instagram and LinkedIn. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our panelists. We really appreciate your time at the tail end of the summer to do this panel with us. Thank you.